So here we are, weekly update number 20, and as always we're going to start with a bit of information from outside of Spain, so what people are doing in their preparation before they move and going to appointments and stuff like that. And we have a great report back from our client Pete, who's given me permission to share this all with you. So I wanted to share this first of all, and Pete went to an NLV appointment in London, and this is his report back. So he says, "Hello Chris, I'm just back from my NLV appointment and thought I'd send you a write-up of how it went." And he said, "The travel. I arrived at London City, Thames Link, and left through the Holborn Viaduct exit." You can see it's also provided us with photos and stuff, which is great for those of you who are going to your appointments in London. There's a convenient Starbucks on the way out. The Holy Sepulchre, I hope I said that right, church is opposite the exit. Turn left out the station and cross over the Holborn Viaduct, which you can see there has got a sign on the wall next to the viaduct. St Andrew's Church will then be on your left, and Prince Albert and the Prince Albert equestrian statue will be ahead of you. Take a sharp left around the church into St Andrew's Street, and the BLS office is a couple of minutes walk on the right. Only takes 5 minutes from the station to the BLS centre. So that's great. Thanks for those photos as well, which is great to help people know where they're going. So checking in, when I arrived there was a queue about a dozen people to the left of the building. By the time I went back to take pictures, the queue had gone. Don't queue there, but speak to the uniformed security guard at the door with your appointment letter in hand, who will send you straight to the reception desk. Remember, the queue on the left is for people with no appointments. The receptionist will interrupt dealing with the queue of other visitors, and after checking your appointment letter will give you a ticket with your number on and a plastic envelope with a sticker on which you have to write your address for the courier service. Then you go and take a seat and wait for your number to be called. I arrived at 12:20 for my 12:30 appointment, which was cutting it a bit fine, but I made a mistake of getting a takeaway coffee and took a while finding the bin to throw the cup away in. You'll be called up to one of the 7 desks. These desks are very high, by the way, so I think they do that on purpose. They can't see what you're doing with it. You can't see what they are doing with the paperwork the other side. There's no need to check the display board showing appointment numbers and desks because they call you. There's quite a few people waiting in the seating area, long queues of people waiting to have the documents checked. NLV applicants don't have to use that queue. That's very important to remember. The appointment. I was seen at 12:35, just 5 minutes after my scheduled time. It took around 20 minutes and I managed to get the originals of my bank statements. They kept everything else, including a full photocopy of my passport. Now, we continue to tell people to take a full copy of your passport. Sometimes they'll just take the photo page and remove the stamp pages. Sometimes they keep the full copy. But you know what? We'd rather that you walked away with copies and recycling than being there and they turn around and say, "Oh, we want a full copy of the passport," and you don't have it on you. There was some confusion over the bank statements. I bought 7 months of statements, each with a full copy attached with a paperclip in the end. She didn't want the originals and asked me just to give her the photocopies. I took a recent picture with me, which was lucky as they wanted a picture rather than taking one while I was there. I hadn't attached it to the form, but that was okay as the clerk did it for me. I noticed the same was happening to other people. So here we are. Are they doing digital photos or not? Take a photo with you. I was initially, because we had a period of a month where they were always doing digital photos. I thought, maybe this has changed permanently. Are we going to tell people not to take a passport photo anymore? But no, belts and braces, take a passport photo. If they end up taking a digital one, well, you've got a photo there that you can use for other things maybe. I had all my documents attached with their copies with clips. She wasn't happy with that and returned all of the paper clips. She did take my cover letter in both English and Spanish. Now, we advise everybody to separate their paperwork with paper clips rather than stapling, because if they have to remove staples, they generally might wreck the bit of paper they're removing the staple from. I think that's still going to continue to be our advice. Especially if you've got very weighty bank statements and stuff. Maybe you don't have to separate the medical certificate, the ACRO, the marriage certificate, stuff like that, because you know they're individual documents. But certainly with the financials, so they know which ones go with which, I still think it's a good idea. There are a couple of additional forms to fill out. The best basically saying that I hadn't lived outside the UK for the last 5 years. She asked me my target date, and I explained that my passport might not arrive in time as it was only a month away. She kept my passport. I finally paid the £554.37 fee, already paid £14.50 I think it is when you make the appointment, and received a receipt with my case number on it to check the process online. Remember that the BLS online checking process isn't always the best. In the past, people have got visas and it still says in process and they've got it in their hand. I hope this information is useful for you. That was brilliant. Thank you very much, Pete. I really appreciate the feedback there. We had another client who went to London, and they sent me an email back, and so I didn't actually ask them if I could say their name, so I'm not going to say it. But just to let you know, went to our appointment with BLS London, all went well, and they are now both submitted successfully. The BLS representatives did comment how well the forms were presented without any prompting, and asked if we'd filled them out ourselves. We did, of course, have to admit we had some help. Well, we do everything together. It was brilliant. But I forgot to mention I was going to put you on the YouTube channel, so if I don't have permission to use your name, I won't do. And this last one here, this is from a viewer, a follower of ours. Now, I didn't actually use our service, but Kenny, I'd like to thank you very much for dropping us an email and letting us know about your experience. And don't forget, if you do need help in Spain, we can help you for stage 2 when you're here. So Kenny wrote to us and said, we submitted this is in Edinburgh. Now, there's some very interesting information here. We submitted our NRV application yesterday at BLS Edinburgh, and although we didn't use your services, I got a lot of information from watching your videos. I thought I'd like to let you know how we got on for your wider info. Brilliant, Kenny. We had printed off 12 months of bank statements to be safe. We had understood only 6 were needed, and when I asked if they only needed 6 months or 12, they said they needed 12. Now, whether they took that just because it was what was offered, or whether they would have insisted on 12 months, I don't know. But worth even if I didn't have them, I don't know, but worth bearing that in mind. I think I read that completely wrong. Let's start again. We printed off 12 months bank statements to be safe. Brackets. We had understood only 6 were needed. Close brackets. And when I asked if they only needed 6 or 12 months, they said they needed 12. Now, whether they just took that because I offered, or whether they would have insisted on 12 months, worth even if I didn't have them, I don't know, but worth bearing in mind. As previously feedback has suggested, there was no problem in keeping our passports. Okay. I asked before the option was offered, but it was not an issue at all. I had to sign a waiver saying I kept the passports. Now, for London and Manchester, for sure you don't keep your passports. You can't. They're just really, really, really... if anybody has kept their passports from London and Manchester, let us know, because I know they're very insistent with our clients. They have to keep them. As Pete said in the previous report, they just give them the envelope straight away. But Edinburgh, yes, we have seen that they have been a bit willing to give back passports. Now, what's our advice? Our advice is make your plans as though you're not going to get your passport back. Okay, don't make travel plans, if possible, dependent on getting your passport back, because you can never 100% guarantee that you get it back. Now, if you can be flexible and you say, well, if I get it back, then I can take advantage of the wait for the visa and go do a few things, maybe travel back and forth to Spain, then great. But we would still say be cautious and make your travel plans accordingly, as though you're not going to get your passport back, in case they insist on keeping it. Because we've seen over the last few years, it's been, yes, we want them, no, we don't, yes, we want them, no, we don't, like this from all 3 consulates. Other than that, all went very smoothly. Staff were very nice and helpful, and all in all, a pretty pleasant experience. If there's anything you want to check about the experience at BLS, just give me a shout. Cheers, Kenny. No doubt we will do. And thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the channel. Okay then, right, let's move on to stage 2 and what is happening in Spain. So stage 2, what's happening in Spain, and someone has flicked the switch. Oh, it's so hot. It's gone from, 17, 18, 19, 20 to 30s. I'm literally sat here now sweating. I don't have aircon in this room. Yeah, it's really warm. But the reason I'm telling you that now is because if you're going to appointments at foreigners' offices, you have to make sure you are prepared, because they're hot, they're barely air conditioned a lot of the time, and you could be stood in a queue for a long while waiting for your appointment. We had a report back from Victoria. She was in just one appointment, an hour and a half the other day, which was between being shuffled from the outside of the Alicante office into the shaded part of the Alicante office and then waiting to go in to actually get your fingerprints done. So we definitely advise that you wear some cool, loose clothing. I should say loose clothing. I meant cool, comfortable clothing. It doesn't have to be loose. I just find loose clothes to be more comfortable, but okay, let's rephrase that. We always advise you take some cool, comfortable clothing that if you think you're going to be stood outside for a long time, take something to shade you from the sun, maybe a hat or a parasol or something like that, and make sure you've got some water with you as well. Okay, maybe some even electrolyte type water, so an Aquarius or something like that. So, and also make sure you've got your sun cream on as well. These are all, might think very simple pieces of advice, but people might think about that when they're going to the beach, but you might not think about it when you're going to an appointment with immigration. So yeah, make sure you are prepared for hot weather. So this week, one thing that I wanted to point out this week is we had a couple of renewals through, which came through really, really quickly. Remember, if your renewal approval comes through before the expiry of your card, you have to wait for that card to expire before you then go to your appointment to renew it. You can't have your renewal approval and the card still in date. You have to wait for that card to expire, which was something that came up this week. Also, we had a renewal in Estepona go through there. Now Estepona is quite away from here, and I have realized that I have been making a huge mistake when I've been explaining about the foreigners offices in Malaga, because I always say there's 7 and list the ones down the coast, right? But there's not, there's more. So we have, this is silly me, we have Vélez Málaga, we have Malaga, we have Antequera, we have Ronda, this is one I always miss, we have Torremolinos, we have Benalmádena, we have Marbella, and we have Estepona. We have 8 in Malaga, not 7. I have a short flying around YouTube somewhere, which I'm not taking down, but it says 7. And no one said anything on it, so maybe I should leave it there. It's something a bit controversial, but yes. So, and that was pointed out to me the other day, and I was like, you're right, Ronda. We never take Ronda into consideration because we don't go there much, unfortunately. That's a very nice place. Okay, what else do we have going on now? We had a replacement for a stolen TIA card, which was within the withdrawal agreement. And what's happened is in this incident, the person had residency before they did an exchange for a TIE card, which meant that this appointment, we should have given them a permanent card, which we believe to have been 10-year one, but because it was a replacement, they've only replaced the card like for like, so it's got exactly the same expiry of the card that was stolen. But because the client has been here for more than 5 years but did an exchange from a green card to a TIE card, it actually says permanent on it. So they basically got a card which is valid until 2026, which is when their last card was going to expire, but it says permanent on it. So at that point they'll get a 10-year card. So that's that. Now next year we are already now making plans for the avalanche that is going to happen with the withdrawal agreement people who got their cards between July and December of 2020. There must be absolutely tens of thousands of people who got their cards during that time and regulated their situation before Brexit. And that, if that kicks off and we're in the same appointment situation as we are now in Spain, where we can hardly get appointments in Almeria, can't hardly get them in Alicante, very tough. Malaga's okay, but they're 2 months down the line. Then it's going to be tough next year. So yeah, I think we need to start campaigning or something to maybe to the authorities and just warn them. Hope they know what's going to be happening this time next year when everybody has to start renewing their withdrawal agreement cards. And what else do we have going on this week? And we just had a couple of collects in Malaga. as well. Now, we don't send our translators to their collections appointments normally, unless it's somewhere complicated like Malaga that can be a bit of a pain to actually get your head in the door. Places like Torremolinos, Benalmádena, they're quite easy just to turn up and collect. In fact, we had a client who managed to get their stick their nose into Benalmádena this week, albeit they had an appointment in a month and a half's time. They took it along, said, look, I really need my car to travel, and they let them have it. So maybe it's even worth having a go. Okay, so what else is happening on the appointment front? Let's have a look. And yep, we've got a few people switching again, as I say, to permanent residency now with the withdrawal agreement. That is happening last week. And we always advise, and I've been asked to say this, if you are one of our clients and you are going to go to your appointment, please check the link out, especially if it's one in Malaga, that we send you to where your appointment is. Because it could be one of the 8, not 7, police stations that we use here. Okay then, right, so that is what's been happening in Spain. Now let's talk about our YouTube channel. So anyway, on the YouTube channel, and I wanted to thank everybody for your comments on the last video. A few people asked about doing the paella video that I was going to do, so I think I'm going to do that one. It'll be a food video on the channel, might be a first to actually do a sort of a recipe one, but I'm quite excited about that. I do love making food, and especially paella, and I've nailed down the recipe, so I will try and get that on. I've got to look at a few videos first to get an idea on how to do it. But going down onto the comments now, we've got a comment from our Marbella video, which I dedicate to Jade, my colleague, because she needed a video to show people where to park and where to go to the police station in Marbella. And a guy on there, Matthew Trickett, said, I got my Spanish nationality 2 weeks ago, and I went for my first DNE. They don't do the certificate. They don't do certificado concordancia for free at the same time anymore in Marbella, and it's a nightmare to get an appointment for the certificate to prove I'm the same person as before. Luckily, I managed it. Best time to check is weekday morning, 9 AM on the website. Yeah, we check every day from 9 AM for appointments. This is a DNE, so it's a Spanish nationality appointment, and a certificate of concordance, a certificado concordancia, is a certificate which proves who you are. And if you had a previous nationality, you need it when you go and register your Spanish nationality. On our car fine video, how do you pay a fine? How do you pay if the fine is too old? 8 months, haven't been in Spain since then, and the fine has moved on to the tax authorities. Can't pay it anymore at the DGT internet site. No, once the payment expires, it's actually extremely hard to pay them, because what happens is you might go into an embargo process, which means that the authorities will just come and try and assign it to an asset you own in Spain, or take it out of the bank account, at which point you wouldn't be able to pay. So the moral of the story is, I don't think there's a lot you can do until this embargo arrives with you, but make sure you try and pay all your fines at the time. Davi 3256, if I was to become a resident and bring my English car, how long have I had to own it without paying import tax or duty? 6 or 12 months. It's 6 months you have to have owned the vehicle. And we've got, here we go, and Strody100 commented on our tax return video. Heck, I used my abogado to pay tax on the rental income for my house, because we spoke about the non-residence tax, and she also received my electric bills, but she didn't tell me how to pay non-residence tax when the house was empty for the last 3 years, after paying thousands to evict someone who'd not paid rent for a year. I knew at least I can get that sorted ahead of time, less pay for penalty. I can get it sorted ahead of time and a less penalty for getting caught out. Remember, if you buy a property, you're not about to live in it, and you're going to maybe come next year or the year after, you have to pay non-residence tax on that. We've got here from Shrody100 as well on the Ask Me Anything. Check if the airport has long stay options. I sometimes use Almeria. My son left. Or what's that? If I drive it, here we go, Tony Carlos. If I drive a car over, can I leave it at the airport so I can use it when I get back over? We get asked this a lot, and it's a tough one, because no, in theory, no. So if you're a non-resident, you drive a car over, you leave it at the airport, and then you come in and out and just use that car. Essentially, you're a tourist. You know, you're seen as a tourist, and tourists can drive their cars. They don't have to register their cars. But in terms of the asset, so the vehicle itself, after 6 months, if the police see that it's been in the country for 6 months, they can issue you with a fine, which forces you to pay the special registrations tax and could force you to pay the import duty. And generally, if the police have spotted a vehicle more than 3 months and you can't prove it's been out of country, you may get problems anyway. So I wouldn't bring a vehicle over to use it sporadically. I think you might find that eventually you'll get in trouble. Plus, the DVLA, in theory, if you bring it from the UK, consider a vehicle that's been out for more than 12 months as permanently exported. Thanks for the advice. Great information, Chris, from Film Green. That's on our 18 weekly update. David Tumner, who's waiting for his visa, very good video as always. See you in July to sort everything, including driving licenses. Yeah, we'll see you soon. And yeah, that's about it really for the YouTube comments. Not that many comments this week. Have we any mentions? And just Sean from Expat in Matharon, we had a couple of comments on his video. We'd like to support them, and he also commented on our video as well. Okay, let's move on to what is happening now in Spain and around. What's it like living in Spain? This is our Living in Spain section. So what's happening in Spain? Got a few things for you this week, and the format seemed popular last week of having a chat while driving, so we can I thought we'd stick to it again. So we're just actually now in Alarin de la Torre. This is more or less where we left the video last week, and as I have to have a drive into town today, I thought why not record it while I'm on my way. So first thing in Spain, what I wanted to do was give a big shout out to this guy who you can see in the picture, Beny. Now Beny is our conserje, the person who looks after excuse me, the reception and looks after us at the Vivero de Empresas, our office block. He's been looking after us now for 4 years, making sure none of our mail gets lost, making sure if anybody comes to find us they know where we're going, warning us if there's going to be any work there. He's really been there for us, and I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's just released an album on Spotify. The album is called Evolution, and it's a sort of jazz saxophone. He plays saxophone, and he has a family band really. His sons play the piano and stuff, and I know they've been working really hard to get this album out and up, so I'd please encourage everybody to have a listen to it. I said I'd give him a big shout out, and you know, anybody who goes to that sort of effort and is an artist, you've got to give him as much airtime as you can, because I think it's fantastic. So yeah, check his out. The link is below to the Spotify album. Now I was going to put a couple of videos on, but I remembered that he's already got them published on a YouTube channel, so I don't want YouTube to kick me off having double publications, as we know what happened to Scats. Yeah, that's I haven't put any videos on, but check his album out below. That's our mate Beny. Next thing is we have a summer bowling party coming up for the guys at Lauro Golf Bowls. Now we're actually on our way to Lauro Golf Bowls if we were carrying on this road here. Now they have a 24-hour bowls tournament in aid of the ABC Homeless charity. They do it every year. They always do an awful lot for charity over there. A big respect for these guys. Our friend Trevor, who got me involved in this, said, can we have a team? So Upsticks is taking a team. Upsticks Drive was going to take a team, but Lara has now defected onto Trevor's team. Trevor being a better bowler than all of us, because we've never actually done it before. I've only ever tried it once. So yeah, she's defected onto that team now, so I've got to come up with a team myself, there'll be me and 2 others, and we're playing at the 8 till 9 session on the 21st, I think it is, and there's a 24-hour bowling. They'll be bowling through the night. There's going to be stalls, there's going to be things going on, and it's all for a good cause, so check it out. And the number, if you're interested in knowing more about the club, is 633 495 214 if you want some more information about either Lauro Golf Bowls or the 24-hour tournament. What else have we got? Honestly, wish I could read my notes sometimes. So you can see we're coming through the centre of Alarin now. This is through the main centre, and coming up to what we'd call the high street, I suppose. We don't really have a high street. We have sort of there's a high street off to our right here, and then straight on as well all the sports places are. Okay, so check this video out. I just took this video because they just amazed me, ants. I'm not too sure what they were doing. Now, this was a water balloon my kids have been playing with their cousins, and this is one that obviously didn't get cleared up, and I watched these ants for about 20 minutes take this down into an ant hole. I'm not too sure what they're going to do with it. They obviously know it's not food, I think, but maybe they thought it was food with that colour. But yeah, maybe they'll build themselves something down there. But it's incredible, and the ants are obviously out at the moment. Now, I don't like to kill them, but if they're in the house, I'm afraid the ant powder goes down. But outside, live and let live. So lots of people outside today having their breakfast in the morning. So it's a late breakfast, because don't forget, people do eat quite late here as well. Next thing is karting in Malaga. Now, we went to the Plaza Mayor karting centre there. I'll put the link below for you, and we had loads of fun. Our family came over to visit us, Lara's cousin and the kids' cousins, basically. It was lovely. First time they've been over to see us here in a couple of years, and we had a fun-packed weekend, and part of it was karting. I definitely recommend you do it. Not the cheapest. It was €45 for 2 8-minute sessions, which you think, wow, that's not a lot, but trust me, you wouldn't want more than 8 minutes in a session, especially in this heat. But the karts are extremely good, and at the end of it they give you a Formula 1 style breakdown of who got the quickest lap, basically. The one who wins is the one with the quickest lap. And the guy there was extremely nice, really nice guy, explained everything. We had a right laugh with him, and the kids can also go as well. They've got a kids karting track, so it's fun for the whole family. Now, this is funny. Check these 2 Orions out. Now, I saw this Orion. I like the old cars from should we say the late 80s, early 90s, because it reminds me of when I was a teenager. And these cars, which to be honest would have been considered quite naff, they probably still are, are now coming into being like classics. You used to see these like kicking around in Spain for €300. Now, I saw this one, a very tidy example of one, as we were going home one evening. I thought, oh, I'm going to Google that, see how much they are. You can see there in Spain, one very similar, not the gear, but one very similar is about €1,800. And then I went to the UK. You cannot find them on the UK Auto Trader site at all, but they are on the classic car sites, and they start, as you see, one there at 1,500, but then they go right through the roof. They go up to like 10 grand. So I'm not too sure what makes them 1,500 or 10 grand, but are these vehicles now stuff that we should be buying and sticking in the shed for 20 years? I always think that. I always think, oh, if you've got, because the people use 80s and 90s cars here as daily drives still. You know, I saw a Golf Mark 1 the other day. In this town there's an Escort Mark 2, a gold one, which is being used daily. The guy in out, see him all the time. I also saw a just see over here to your left hand side is Vivero Guzman. That's one of the very nicest what do you call them, nurseries, sorry, plant nurseries in Malaga. So yeah, in Spain, should we be buying these cars from the 90s and keeping them in a garage so their value starts to increase? I think that the value now is on the turn for these cars. I couple of years ago now, I had a CLK, a 99 CLK 320 compressor, and it was the Elegance version, and I picked it up so cheap. It was before I had children. It was I mean, I couldn't afford to rent it in the end. It just has so much petrol, it's unbelievable. It would just be a car you'd use around the town. You certainly wouldn't be taking it on the motorway. But I bought it cheap and I sold it very cheap. I don't even think I got 2,000 euros for it. The other day I was looking, and one in good condition, albeit that everybody said they weren't that well built. They're up at 4,000 again now. They seem to have gone the other way. So yeah, it'd be great to know your opinion on that. And last but not least, a bit of food here. Now, this is called a timbal. Now, I never really saw these before in Spain, but timbal is basically when they form this sort of salad in the shape of a bowl, and they put it on your plate and decorate it with lots of nice shoots and greens and stuff like that. And the two that they seem to have, so if you ever see a timbal, T-I-M-B-A-L salad on the menu, this is what you're going to get. And generally it will be raw fish, so it'll be your raw tuna or your raw salmon, and it'll come with avocados, maybe onions, and I've even seen one with oranges once. They called it a timbal de ensalada de malagueña. So the Malaga salad has potatoes and oranges in it, and they made a timbal shape out of it as well. So yeah, but I would say it's a brilliant thing to get if you see it on a menu, a timbal. Right then, so that is us. We are now